Hey guys, welcome to Monday night. Welcome to the Wise Guys, the largest BYU sports live stream show in the whole world, presented by Brady Plus, Eddie, and Mountain America Credit Union, and we're distributed by the Deseret News. The new podcast will be out tomorrow wherever you get your podcasts. Chicago is right out of the gate on the live stream.
Number one, Nathan Lockwood from Chicago.
Go Cubs.
It's pretty awesome.
Nathan, I'm going to assume you're a Cubs fan and not a Sox fan.
That's right.
If you're a Sox fan, don't even bring it up.
Don't check in with Dave.
Beaumont, Texas is there. Welcome. There's Idaho. We're going to span the globe here tonight.
And early from Granite Bay, California is Conrad Monson. Robert Robb, always in Idaho, Ridgecrest. We're so glad to have all of you join us. And we remind you, like we do every week, to subscribe to our free email at wiseguys.com, ysguys.com. You can also watch all the past content there at our website. And we would love if you would hit the free subscribe button on our YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube. So it helps us grow the brand, grow the business, and keeps us going.
Absolutely it does. Vernal, Utah is in the house. Hey, good to have you with us. And I went back to Conrad's thought there. And early today from Granite Bay, California. Love the news about Ryder Lyons. Fingers crossed. Yeah. We're going to talk about Ryder Lyons coming up here.
Absolutely. Hey, we want to recognize our great sponsors, our title sponsors, Brady Plus. Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, service and repairs, over 150 distribution facilities across the country, and over 6,000 employees. Our good friend Travis Brady and Brady Plus.
Also by Mountain America Credit Union, there are BYU fans and then there are real BYU fans. And since many of you, if not all, are the real deal, we want to highlight the BYU credit card from Mountain America Credit Union. Not only can you choose from 2 impressive designs, you can also get a $100 bonus for a limited time. Apply for your BYU credit card featuring a $100 bonus at any Mountain America branch or macu.com/BYU Visa. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. The offer ends June 30th. That's coming up. A chance to get your BYU credit card and $100. Man, that's a pretty good deal.
There you go. Hey, and by the way, I have on my my Cruise with the Cougs shirt, and you can see Macu's right here, Mountain America Credit Union. And we're going to do it again, not this summer, but next summer, right? No, 27, summer of 27. And this last cruise, which was unbelievably fun, would not have happened without our friends from Macu. So we're very grateful to have them involved with BYU, and really, really grateful to have them as a title sponsor. And then Eddie, we can't forget about Eddie, our good friend Travis Hansen, and Eddie, HR and payroll software built for small businesses. Whether you run a dental office in Spanish Fork or a construction crew in Lehigh, Eddie helps you hire, onboard, track time, run payroll, all in one place. It's a simple solution. It's local, reliable, built by business owners who believe people come first. See how Eddie can serve your team at eddy.com, EDDY.com. Fantastic company.
Those are the folks that allow you to watch and take in Wise Guys free of charge. So we thank them for their support and remind you the Wise Guys is distributed by the Deseret News and Deseret.com, Utah's newspaper since 1850. The Deseret News turned 175 yesterday.
That's crazy.
On Father's Day.
Yeah.
Nice job. Hey, by the way, from Huntsville, Alabama, yesterday my 40th wedding anniversary. So a shout out to...
Way to go, Rebel Dog.
Rebel Dog, nice job. And there's Nebraska on the stream.
Orem's in the house. We like Orem.
Orem, right? Utah, you bet.
Tucson is in the house with Neil Jones. And by the way, your guys said go Cubs. So Nathan Lockwood from Chicago said go Cubs. So we don't have to worry about that he's some White Sox guy. He's not a White Sox guy.
We didn't want to lose a subscriber tonight.
So, we would have lost him if he was a White Sox guy.
Now, David from Ojai in there as well. So here's what we got coming up tonight. It's going to be fun. BYU football. Why is this week such a big week for the future?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Basketball. Are you ready for a decade of Kevin Young?
That's a long time.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why we say that. And then the Big 12 basketball schedule is released. We're going to highlight our favorite games. In the Big 12, every game is a big game, but there's some ones that are bigger than others. We're going to highlight those a little bit.
BYU has another national champion. A full recap of the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. James Corrigan was on Sports Nation with us this morning. He's just about won everything this year, and he is number one. So a nice weekend for the Corrigans.
That's right. BYU professors Chris Karpowitz and Kelly Patterson will join us to discuss the top 5 myths of taking American Heritage.
So
I took American Heritage.
Yeah, I did too. We have to.
And I believe I got a solid B+.
That's good. That's good. So as we've been marketing and promoting our show with the top 5 myths that we're going to tackle tonight from American Heritage, there's been a lot of reaction, and I think it's brought up past bad experiences and fears. Someone has suggested we have a psychiatrist on hand.
Yeah, we should,
as we tackle some of these things. But
and everybody takes American Heritage, right? It's part of
you have to, right?
General
it's required
requirement, and I know it's the most feared class in the history of BYU.
It really is, and so 2 professors who are really good at their job. They're going to sit right here with us, and we're going to tackle these myths.
We're going to talk about all these things. There's a lot of false narratives out there about American Heritage, and actually,
there's some that are true.
I love American Heritage. My kids, I have 5 BYU grads of my kids. They all loved American Heritage. They love history. They love art history. They love all of that. And so we are kind of an American Heritage family at the Fowler House.
It's interesting because the politics of the day are sure changing fast. And so they have to do that, too, to keep their class relevant, and the student body changes. It's a different group of kids. So that's coming up here in a few minutes. We're going to let the live streamers all assemble before we bring these 2 stars on tonight. And speaking of stars, there's a quarterback with 5 of them, Ryder Lyons, as we look at our headlines on the Wise Guys tonight. He makes his official BYU visit this weekend. He was at Oregon last weekend. His decision is reportedly down to those 2. An announcement could come anytime after the visit. We're told that he's itching to make one. So maybe even as soon as the BYU visit is over or during. That could come later this week.
He canceled other big-time visits.
USC.
Like USC said, no, I'm not going to do my visit. So that says a lot, right? And so we'll see. Could Ryder Lyons commit to Kalani while he's on campus?
Yeah, he could.
This, by the way, this is a big recruiting weekend as well. Last weekend was a very important recruiting weekend, and we can't announce yet because it's not official, but a couple of the big-time recruits that they had on this last weekend, and remember, I think they either had 6 or 8 players in this last weekend. A couple of the really high-profile ones did commit while they were here this last weekend.
Nice.
And we're not going to talk about that until it's official. This weekend, I believe there's 16 recruits on campus, including Ryder Lyons. So this is an even bigger weekend. This might be the biggest recruiting weekend, not just because of Ryder, but there's other big-time players that they're wanting to secure while they're here on their visit this next weekend. It's a busy time for this coaching staff, and it's an important time.
And the 26 class is already, I think, the highest rated in program history.
Yes.
That's without Lyons and a couple of these other guys. Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting week for June.
And I heard a couple of the guys that committed, and I'm really excited. And we'll talk about it in the weeks to come when it becomes official. But there's a couple of ballers that are going to really help on both sides of the ball. So
we're happy to have Clay on the live stream from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Nick is on the stream from Pensacola, Florida, as we span the globe and span the country. Just getting started on another brand new Wise Guy. Speaking of another big commit.
Mm-hmm. Tight end Parker Ord, the latest to join BYU's 2025 recruiting class. He's a 6'4", 210-pound, 3-star prospect from Texas. I can't even talk today. But the offers that he had, Utah, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, a few others, those are of note because those are all in the Big 12. Texas product, and that's a big-time recruit for BYU. And they've been loading up on the tight end room.
Yeah.
People have been saying to us, what happened to the tight end in the offense? What happened, injuries, and they were thin at that position. Well, seems to be over, doesn't it? And I think when there's a lot of talent at that position and depth at that position, you're going to see the tight end become an integral part of that offense again. So yeah, and Brock Harris was on the show a few weeks ago. Talk about a specimen, my goodness.
Yeah. And he was saying, hey, we're getting some other guys.
Yep.
Those other guys might be this week. Big news. All right, Tom's in from the Bay Area. Good to have you with us on the stream tonight. The ESPN Football Power Index numbers are out, and this is where they have BYU. They've got them ranked 29th in their FPI. Bowl eligibility is at 89.2%.
So, they're projecting they're going to win 6 or more games, almost for certain.
Win the Big 12, that's at 10.4%. Mm-hmm. College football playoff berth at 12.6%. A little higher than winning the league.
They think they have a higher chance to actually be in the CFP as a second team than win the league.
Yeah, and then those chances drop significantly.
Yeah, to get to the finals, 0.6%, and then to win the national championship, 0.1%.
0.1. But you know what that tells me?
You're telling me there's a chance.
That's exactly what that tells me. So that's the ESPN Football Power Index. And with questions about Jake Retzlaff and whether or not he'll be with BYU or how that gets resolved, you know, the numbers have kind of bounced around a little bit. They've fallen out of the top 25 in some spots.
They were top 12 in a bunch of polls
a
month and a half ago. All of a sudden, there's some question over whether their senior quarterback will be back. And now all of a sudden, they're not in the top 25 in a lot of polls. Just gone. And this is no disrespect to Jake, because I think Jake's phenomenal, and I think he would have taken a step forward as senior. But this team just needs a game manager to play quarterback, whether that's Jake or one of these young guys. They are loaded on defense. They were the number one defense in the Big 12 last year. I expect them to be the number one defense in the Big 12 again this year. That's why they won a bunch of games last year. Not because their quarterback was a Heisman Trophy winner. Right. So I think that they're waiting the indecision there or what's going to happen there way too heavily, because I think BYU is a top 20 team with or without.
And we think in the next couple of weeks there's going to be some movement on that, one way or the other.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on.
And Phil Steele is one of the guys
what's up with Phil Steele?
That has BYU plummeting in recent weeks. He came out with
Phil Steele to come on the show and ask him what in the world is wrong with his brain.
So his preseason top 40. Here are the Big 12 teams in his top 40 overall.
Baylor number 13.
That's a little high.
Yeah, Utah number 18.
Super high.
Where's that coming scratcher, from? Right?
Yeah.
Iowa State 21. That seems a little low to me. Arizona State 23. That also seems low to me. Kansas State 24. Texas Tech 29. You're noticing I haven't said BYU yet.
You're getting in some crazy numbers here.
TCU 36. I still haven't said BYU. Do you know where you have to go to find BYU? You got to go all the way down the list to number 53.
Yeah, what could that be based on? What could that possibly be based on? Returning starters? No. Success last season? Well, they went 11-2, finished ranked 13th. Is it all on the quarterback?
Like I'm telling you, quarterbacks are important. I think it's the most important position in football. But, and again, I have a lot of respect for Jake. Jake had what I expected him to do last year as a junior. I expect him to take a step forward. But this isn't Jim McMahon returning after breaking 54 NCAA records his junior year. Right?
Right.
That's way too heavily weighted. You go from most people talking about them top 15 to 53, way too heavily weighted.
Yeah, that's a shock. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And Utah, that doesn't make sense to me either, that Phil Steele would have them at,
and Utah,
18.
Utah's got a quarterback that's coming from New Mexico. Now, the good news for him is that he's going to run the same offense he ran at New Mexico because his offensive coordinator
is Jason Beck.
Jason Beck, right. BYU former quarterback that is running the offense. So he's going to run an offense he's familiar with, but nobody else on that offense has run that offense. Yeah. Defense is always going to be good at Utah.
He didn't face any Big 12 defenses in the Mountain West last year.
No, he did not.
So he might be Superman. We'll find out.
We'll see.
But
that's kind of high.
Yeah, that seems high. Seems high.
I have way more questions about Utah than I do about BYU. Now, having said that, I also think Utah is very good defensively year to year. That's why they're always in ball games, even when they're mediocre on offense. So I would never have Utah or BYU out of my top 25 preseason just because their defenses. It's crazy.
Sylvia in from Wisconsin. Let's see. We've got Captain Redbeard, the angler, on the stream from Alaska. Of course, you got to be in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, if you're Captain Redbeard, the angler. Good to have you with us. The Big 12 preseason rankings, that's kind of the next new poll, right?
Right.
So now that they've shown a lot of fluctuation with this and that, July 8th, this is 2 weeks away, that's when we're going to find out where BYU is going to be in the preseason poll. They were 13th last year. Where do you think they'll be this year?
I don't have any idea now because I don't know what's going. Like 2 months ago, you and I were talking about this. My preseason Big 12 poll, I have BYU and Iowa State tied for first in my preseason poll. I think one of those two wins it. I had Kansas State and Arizona State tied for second. So I have those guys. My 1, 2, 3, 4 is BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona State, kind of almost interchangeably the first two and the second two.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have the sneaking suspicion that I had Baylor 5th, Texas Tech 6th, and down the line Kansas, then TCU. People have Baylor way higher than that. They got BYU, like, who knows? You watch, BYU's going to be 7th or something like that.
It'll be
which
very
I think
interesting.
is crazy based on who they have coming back.
So Pro Football Focus put out their Big 12 quarterback rankings. Speaking of Retzlaff, speaking of Baylor, they've got Sawyer Robertson all the way at number 1 for Pro Football Focus. Best quarterback in the league. Sam Levitt's at number 2 for Arizona State. Rocco Becht at number 3 for Iowa State. They're all good. Josh Hoover, 4 for TCU. Avery Johnson for Kansas State is number 5. They've got Baron Morton for Texas Tech at number 6 and Jake Retzlaff at 7.
Yeah, that's also interesting because Baron Morton, to me, like, it depends on what you're ranking. Some of these guys are crazy athletes. So I think Josh Hoover and Avery Johnson are really, really dynamic, dual threat kind of guys. I think Sam Levitt's every bit as good as Sawyer Robertson at Baylor. You can put Sam Levitt up there as the number 1 guy, and he just went and won the league and played in college football playoff last year, and he's back. Now he doesn't have that Scadaboo. He doesn't have Scadaboo at running back. That handicaps him a little bit. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Rocco Becht was solid all year last year at Iowa State. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league.
And I don't have a problem with Jake at 7.
And Baron Morton might be the best pure thrower in that whole group, right? So there's a lot of good quarterbacks. It's okay. Jake's in the mix. Like, there's very little. If you go 1 through 7, there's very little separating any of those 7 guys. Those are all good quarterbacks. This is a league with a lot of good quarterbacks this year.
The highest graded running backs in the Big 12 returning for this fall. Pro Football Focus was pretty busy putting out lists, and we thought this was interesting. So these are the running backs. Bryson Washington for Baylor is rated at 85.9. That's the highest in the Big 12. Ty Edwards, West Virginia's next at 82.2. Jaden Nixon from UCF at 80.9. Ismail Mahdi from Arizona is 80.3. And then at number 5 is L.J. Martin for BYU at 80.2.
Yeah, and I think L.J. Martin, people forget that last year he got hurt in spring ball, had surgery during the summer, missed most of fall camp, came back the week before game week, and kind of had a little bit of a slow start. And then toward the end of the year, he really started to come into his own. I just talked to him the other day. 100% healthy this entire offseason, all the way through spring ball. He looks great. I think he has a breakout year this year. And then BYU is so much deeper at running back this year with Sione Moa, who's 100% healthy. They're basically 4 and maybe 5 deep. Now, Ahini looks good. Who am I missing? But there's at least 4 guys that can play.
Yeah.
And maybe my favorite in that whole group that I think is going to have a surprise year is Moa. Because I think he is a human bowling ball. He's the kind of guy that if you give him the ball enough times in a game, by the third quarter, the secondary all says, please do not make me tackle this guy again. I don't feel good.
Yeah, He's got to stay healthy, which he didn't do last year, but when we saw him, he was explosive. LJ was at 5.2 yards per carry in a season where he wasn't healthy the whole time. And so the running back room behind that big offensive line that we talked about last week with Andrew Gentry here on the show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things. And LJ also has gotten better catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see all of these guys can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think you're going to see a little more utilization of the running back in the throw game and the tight ends again, which allows the quarterback to have a much higher completion percentage. So,
oh yeah, Carson Ryan.
Hey, how about Eric Waite's back on with us? He's been gone the last couple of weeks. We always like to hear Eric check in from Singapore.
Yeah, we do like to be in Singapore.
Because we know that when he's in Singapore, he's like taking time out of the middle of his morning on Tuesday morning to be with us live. So that's pretty cool.
Don't spoil the rest of Monday night for us, Eric, but happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday
over
to
there.
you, brother.
Here's some key dates as we get closer. July 8th and 9th, just around the corner, Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas. This is why we think the Retzlaff situation will probably be decided because BYU doesn't want to take that story down to Big 12 Media Days. And at some point there has to be a resolution of this is either going to be settled and ended or it's going to continue on and BYU's got to figure out their plan at quarterback.
Right.
So when we look at clerical and calendar type things. This is a calendar type thing because when you look at the clerks in the courts, a civil case takes 2 years to get in front of a jury.
Right.
Well, we got 2.5 Well, 2 months, right? 2.5 months before the season opener. And so we'll see, but this is just a natural line in the sand of if there is a date to have this determined by, it would be before Kalani has to go face the entire conference media.
Yeah, because everybody's going to add. That's the question everybody's going to be asking. So
we'll keep you posted on that.
Yep, we'll keep you up on it. July 16th, the Chargers report to training camp. And why do we tell you about the Chargers? Just because that's the first NFL team to report to camp. We thought that was of interest. So
it is exciting.
We're a month away. Yeah. 1 month from today. The Chargers report to training camp.
After further review, season premiere August 29th on BYU TV. That's coming up about a day, we think, before the team reports.
Right.
At the end of the month.
Right about then for sure, because they play a month from then. That's typically the reporting day.
Yeah,
right around then.
And then before we even get out of July, there's the Chargers and Lions on NBC.
Yeah, that's why the Chargers start practice first. Yeah. Hall of Fame games on NBC that day. August 31st.
That's just exciting.
So we're in the month of June. We're in the middle of June. We got July, and then the greatest time of all time is back, fall.
Yeah, it is a great time.
When American Heritage kicks back into full swing, when football gets going.
Let me tell you what else is going to be new when football returns. Over there at UCF, they named their stadium the Bounce House this week.
Right.
It used to be FBC Morgan Stadium. That's what it was called when BYU went down there and beat them 37-24 last year. Moving forward, it's going to be called the Acrisure Bounce House.
So I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, I'm not sure either.
Is everybody like bouncing around in there, or is it?
But what a great name for a stadium.
I like it. Hey, we're
playing at the Bounce House.
We're going down to play in the Bounce House. I like it.
At first, I thought Mickey Mouse had to be involved somehow because it's in Orlando. But no, it's the Bounce House. That's their new stadium name. So hey,
BYU played
when you sell to advertisers, it's amazing what you'll call yourself.
Yeah, it is.
They're calling themselves the Bounce House.
So
here's some BYU basketball news. AJ Debonsa reportedly killing it at the USA under 19 workouts. I saw clips today on X of him just dominating. It's going to be a year like we've never seen before. So they started with 32. They're down to 18. The final 12 players on this under 19 team is going to represent Team USA in Switzerland later this month. AJ is going to be the number one player. It's not about can he make 12. He's the best player on the floor.
Yeah, no, he is amazing. Folks, I was a couple weeks ago. I ran up to the basketball facility in the morning I had to pick up something from Richie Saunders, and you and I were talking about this, and I just watched for a couple of minutes, and my eyes were just wide open at the plays I was watching, not just by AJ. This team is crazy athletic. It is so fun to watch the athletic plays are being made, and I was also really impressed with the way they shot the basketball. You know who's shooting it great? Brody Kozlowski is shooting it great. Our guy Brody, at 6'7" and as big as he is, you got AJ penetrating and you got Rob Wright penetrating. You guys getting in. They're going to kick it out to Brody Kozlowski. Is just going to stand out there at 6'7" in a mismatch and knock down threes.
Yeah,
really fun.
I'm telling you,
this team is loaded. So the expectations, I don't know. Everybody's saying they got to be a Final Four team. You got to have a little luck. You got to stay healthy. You have to do all of that to get to the Final Four.
Even really good teams don't get to the Final Four.
But I was sitting there before I went, and I'm going, really? I mean, I know AJ's great and all this. I go watch practice, and I go, yeah, that's not a crazy expectation. They have the talent to play with anybody. It's
140 days.
Really fun.
Villanova at T-Mobile Stadium.
I wish I could take you all the practice with me, but I just brought you in. It was crazy. I saw AJ do a dunk where he kind of went by the rim, and then, and you can't see it if you're listening to the podcast, but he kind of took the ball like this and dunked it on his way by, almost like an afterthought. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's not something you see every day.
No. Kevin Young's contract extension is good for the next 8 to 10 years. We've heard a great long future and all those terminologies, but we can tell you it's 8 years locked with language in the deal for 2 additional years. That's a decade.
There's always option years on any of these contracts and that kind of stuff.
It's the richest coaching contract in BYU history. Just by doing the basic math and adding the years.
Yeah.
Brian Santiago and his crew, credit to that, getting it done because, as Kevin Young mentioned to the Deseret News, the Suns were sniffing around, and he was talking to them because he didn't say this part, but we know this part. The Suns were bringing their checkbook, and it was pretty impressive.
Checkbook. They were bringing a truck full of money to his garage to back up and just dump money in his garage is what they were going to do.
He wanted to stay. He got an extension. He got a raise. He's going to be here for a long, long time. Yeah. And that's good news for BYU.
Yeah. And, we talk about expectations. So Fox College Hoops had an article where they list BYU as having the 7th best odds to win next year's national championship. So they're tied.
So first of all, by the way, that's never happened ever.
No, ever.
Right. That's not happened.
So they're tied for 7th with St. John's, Purdue, and with St. John's. Purdue and Houston are tied for the best odds. Well, think about it. Houston's got everybody back from that team that played in the national championship and should have won last year.
Yeah.
They're tied for the best odds to win the title with Duke. So Purdue and Houston. So there's a 3-way tie for the top odds. UConn, Michigan, and Florida are all right there in front of BYU. So they're saying Purdue, Houston, and Duke have the best odds. Then the next jump is Michigan and Florida, and then BYU, St. John's.
Yeah, and BYU's going to play UConn in Boston, which is pretty cool. And they're going to play Houston at the Marriott Center.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But
and we'll see who they get moving forward. So, hey, that's cool. That's rare air. Every day we kind of see stuff going, well, we've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And I think the war drums are just going to get louder.
Well, and you think about it, like track is an all-time best that they've ever. Like this is kind of takes me back to the late 70s, early 80s when we were talking about this is Camelot at BYU when the baseball team was nationally ranked and the basketball team was in the Elite Eight and the football team was ranked in the top 10 and winning national championships. This feels like that, Dave.
Yeah.
Track team is ranked and
maybe even a little more.
Yeah, because track team's ranked and doing great. The the football team finished in the top 12 last year, and look
at the competition they're doing it
they're
against.
Playing it against better teams. Cross country, all we expect them to do is go out and win 2 more national championships next year.
Yeah.
Like everything is playing at a high level, and then basketball now is just really stepped on the gas pedal, and BYU football is quietly fashioning
pretty good
the best recruiting class in history already, and soon to get better.
We're 3 minutes away from American Heritage, so
don't forget about that.
Get ready. Get everyone around the computer, TV, whatever. The Big 12 conference schedule was released since we were last together. Brett Yormark, it was interesting. He put out this quote: "The schedule is based on TV value, rivalries, geography, and fairness." I thought that was an interesting word to throw in there, at fairness. So the home games for BYU at the Marriott Center look pretty good.
Yeah, so they have Arizona, Houston, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, TCU, and Central Florida. Like, of all of those home ones, what's your favorite one of that group?
Well, Houston will be number 1 in the country, right?
Right.
And Arizona will be in the top 10. Texas Tech might be in the top 10, and BYU will be in the top 10. So I like those 4.
Well, and Iowa State's always tough as nails.
Yeah.
It's not an easy schedule in this league, no matter where you play. But
yeah, Iowa State, they'll be in the top 10.
Yeah,
that's a good group.
I like that Houston's coming to BYU. I like, and they don't have to go back. We're going to talk about road just a minute. And I like that Iowa State's coming to BYU and they don't have to go back there. Those are 2 brutal places to play.
And you look at Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, TCU, UCF, that's 5 wins. Right there at home. And then you get 2 of the other 4.
You're looking good.
You're 7 wins at home, and then you go get some. You want to get to 12? 12's going to get you an awesome seed.
Mm-hmm.
The road games: Kansas, Arizona, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Utah, Cincinnati, and they go all the way back to West Virginia. But they play good at West Virginia, so I don't think they're afraid of that. Third straight year going back there. But I've been back there. It's kind of cool. It's not the worst place to be.
No, and they did well.
Yeah. Kansas doesn't come to Provo. That one was interesting, but there's some trade-offs, right? Kansas doesn't come to Provo, but BYU doesn't go to Houston.
Right.
And when you talk about fairness and this and that, it looks like what thing Yormark did with the schedule is try not to have teams beaten up by the upper echelon teams by having to play them twice. Because then you go to the conference tournament, you're going to play them 3 times. And for one team, that's probably 2 losses, maybe 3 if you're playing Houston.
And you could be a top 15 team and have 2 losses to Houston.
Yeah.
Or top 10 team and have 2 losses to Houston.
So only play Houston once and play somebody else. And Baylor's not coming to Provo, but BYU doesn't have to go to Iowa State, which might be, outside of the Marriott Center, the toughest road venue in the league.
Right. And the places they're playing, where they're playing home and home, Arizona, which is a regional rivalry. Remember, you talked about we want to keep rivalries intact. Arizona, they play home and home. Utah, they play home and home. I like that they play Utah twice. Now, Texas Tech, they're going to play at home and on the road, which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
We'll roll out the women's schedule a bit later. There's a couple of rule changes we thought were interesting. Starting this season, a coach can challenge at any point in the game, including goaltending and out-of-bounds calls.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I think he had his hand in the rim. No, he didn't. I'm challenging that.
Right. You have to have a timeout to be able to have the challenge. So you can challenge at any time, but you have to have a timeout in your pocket to be able to do it. And they get so many timeouts. When we're doing the games for TV, there's an under 16 and under 12 and under 8 and under 4. You get 4 timeouts for television without having to call one.
You almost need a timeout from the timeout.
Yeah,
but then that's another timeout.
That way. Yeah, that's another timeout. So you have to have a timeout. If the challenge is successful, then you get an additional challenge for the rest of the game.
Kind of like the NFL.
Including overtime, right.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how Kevin Young uses the new rules on November 3rd against Villanova at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. We think that'll be on TNT. It might be TBS. We'll find out, but it's one of those two most likely. NBA drafts coming up June 25th and 26th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Of course, why do we care? Because Egor Demin is going to get drafted on opening night. The question is, where is he going to go? Could be anywhere at this point.
Yeah, he's received an invite to the green room, where they sit backstage to attend the NBA draft. Travis Hansen, our good buddy, is going to be there with him. So he's one of 13 players to get an invite to Brooklyn. So that tells you the NBA's thinking he's going to be in the top 13 picks, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And remember, most of you folks saw highlights, but he had a phenomenal pre-draft camp. So
here's what we got.
We're going to bring American
Blank's
Heritage
coming over here.
Come over there.
That chair's over there. This is on our live stream. This is what you get to see. This is like a lineup shuffle. Every sport has them. Hockey, they've got their line changes. We're gonna move this studio around, and I'm going to introduce our guests. Everyone's in royal tonight. How about that? We did not plan for that, but tonight we're breaking new ground on the Wise Guys. We're going to tackle the top 5 myths of the American Heritage classes at BYU. This class has long been ridiculed, if not feared, by the over 350,000 BYU students who've had to pass it to graduate. This fall, another 3,400 are going to take the class, most from our 2 guests tonight. Our pleasure to welcome to the Wise Guys 2 professors who teach American Heritage at BYU, Chris Karpowitz and Kelly Patterson. Welcome, brothers, to the Wise Guys.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you for having us on.
What do you think about our lair here?
This is a great man cave.
And
I wore long sleeves so that I didn't have to compete with
the guns of playing show.
Fowler, I know. I'm feeling a little
You're a veteran of the show. That's important.
I watched it and I thought, I don't do arms.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, the only reason I even lift weights anymore is so when I stand next to Brian Logan, I can at least compare somewhat, because he always says, "Hey, Uncle B, you're getting small." So,
well, if that's the case, then.
So go do a few more curls, right? Do a few more curls so I can hang with Bilo. So
when we were together and visiting, we figured about 85 to 90% of all BYU grads have to pass American Heritage to get their diplomas and get on with their lives. That's a lot of pressure. So how long have you 2 been teaching this class, Chris?
Well, when I was an undergraduate, I was a TA for American Heritage, and then I've been at BYU for almost 20 years.
20?
So that's about how long I've been teaching American Heritage.
About the same for me, too. I've been at BYU longer, but it took them a little bit longer to see me as eligible to teach that class.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. It was quite the courtship.
So Dave and I were, I could see.
We were happy to have you, Kelly.
Not everybody was.
Dave and I were reminiscing.
That's another story.
Reminiscing about our days back in school. And American Heritage, it was scary. Like, because it's not an easy class. You got to be on top of it, and you got to stay up and all of that. But you're also a little bit intimidated because you're young. You're a freshman, you're a sophomore. You're taking your general education, and you walk in. And in the past, it was in this giant room, huge classes. Is it still that way? Are they still big classes in the big auditoriums?
Yeah, they're big classes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they meet in smaller, what we call lab sections on Thursday and Friday. So we do that because it's important for for students to have a sense of connection to somebody who knows their name, and that's hard for us to do when we're teaching 600, 700 at a time.
So the TA is very important.
TA is very
Absolutely.
important.
You might not even get a chance to talk to you guys like you're Elvis, but you can talk to someone in the band. Is that- that's kind of it.
Yeah, no, by the time students get a chance to talk to us, it's Elvis has left the building.
When classes are so massive, is it because everyone has to take it? I mean, can they
that's
just
part of
not be down to 30, 35?
Well, I think part of it is, it would be very inefficient to have the number of faculty needed to teach it in 30 to 35 person sections. That would be tough.
Yeah, so you just bring them in.
Yeah. So share with us, what's the objective of American Heritage? Why is BYU say, hey, everybody's got to take this. This is really, really important that everybody take it as part of their general education. And what's the objective for these students that are coming through American Heritage?
I think it goes back to civics. They want to make sure, the Board of Trustees wants to make sure that the students understand the constitutional system in which they live and the way in which economics plays a part in that, and what the history is behind the formation of this great republic of ours.
Yeah, American Heritage is one of the few classes, maybe the only class, I think, at BYU that was created by direct order of the Board of Trustees. So
Chris calls it divine fiat.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, so I think Kelly's exactly right. We want our students to understand the constitutional system in which we live. We want them to have some concepts that help them make their way in the world, understand the world around them, and make their own decisions about what they think the right political choices are going forward. We just want to introduce them to some ideas and concepts that help them orient themselves in that world.
We're going to get into some stuff tonight, but before we do, does it hurt your feelings when the class that you love gets such a bad rap?
Yes.
And how do you channel those feelings?
Humor. Because some of the ways in which students show
For Kelly, it's a great deal of Diet Pepsi, right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, no, everybody needs to self-medicate at some point. But yeah, no, the students have various ways of telling us that they do or do not like the class, and we try to pay attention to what they're telling us with regard to the content of the class and the presentation of some of the material. Some of it is structural. We just can't. We'd love to change the size of the class, but as Chris was saying, that's just hard to do. But we try to make it fun and enjoyable, and that involves a little self-humiliation.
Yeah, at times.
Yep.
In the way in which we present the material to try and make it more intelligent for the students.
Yeah, just accessible, something that they can relate to, and so we try to have fun in the class, and that's an important part of it. That's one of the joys of teaching it, right? You're right that a lot of students who are taking this class, this is one of their first semesters at BYU, so it's a big change from what they've experienced in high school, and we're trying to help them understand what the resources are so that they can succeed in the class, because the vast majority of them are going to do great.
So can you feel the tension on opening day?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
all the youngins are just freaking out, right?
Yeah, you walk into the class and there's a lot of noise, and then it just, as you walk down the aisle, it starts to diminish, and by the time you get to the podium, it's silence, and people are. He looks a lot older and shorter than I thought he was going to be. I hope he's not too angry today.
We have someone in the chat saying, hey, I had American Heritage from Matthew Holland back in the summer term of 2004. Matt taught that. And then and he says, and I really like that class. And then Jess Cromwell saying, hey, I had American Heritage June 1979.
1979.
Wow. So, and then somebody else says, hey, I took it. It wasn't that bad, but I had AP US history in high school, so it made it easier. So
yeah, different students come in with different resources, and the better they've prepared themselves, I think the easier it is. But one of the big challenges for us is that we teach a lot of international students. And international students have not been raised by definition in the United States. So a lot of the history and politics that we just take for granted, our American students take for granted, they just don't have.
We're going to hear from one of those international students in a couple of minutes.
Uh-oh.
Thrilled to have BYU professors Chris Karpowitz and Kelly Patterson on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, Supplies Plus Support.
By Eddie, HR and payroll software built for small businesses. See how Eddie can serve your team at eddy.com.
And by Mountain America Credit Union, apply for your BYU credit card featuring a $100 bonus at any Mountain America branch or macu.com/BYU Visa.
And let's remember, Wise Guys is distributed by the Deseret News.
One thing we learned in American Heritage is you got to get jobs that will pay the bills. So we appreciate
That's why
having
we
our
teach market
sponsors.
economics.
So
Capitalism matters.
So I have a question about a recent survey that Dave found, of course, among BYU grads. They say American Heritage ranks among the top 5 most loved courses and also among the top 5 most hated courses. So it seems like nobody's in the middle on American Heritage.
No.
Like they either loved it or they hated it.
Welcome to American politics, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Polarization. That's right.
You can feel it in the class, huh?
Yeah.
So we want to play a video clip because we talk about what really kind of started the wheels in motion of us getting together is a lot of student athletes have kind of complained about American Heritage or have questions about it, even right at the top from the head coaches. So we're going to hear, DJ's going to play a little video. On the live stream, you'll hear the voices of Mark Pope, Kalani Sataki, and Egor Demin. On the podcast, you'll hear that. On the live stream, you'll actually see,
you'll see it.
This clip. And DJ, fired up.
In fact, as we speak, I have 5 men's basketball players taking their American Heritage final. And if you know anything about BYU, American Heritage is it's some confluence of like the Navy SEALs training school and like an MIT graduate program and like playing the Grand Master Champion of chess in the world. All together, it's that type of challenge.
And it's a 100-level class. Like, it's one of the first things you do at BYU.
Like, my guys are dying right now.
Yeah.
The stairs that connect the RB to upper campus are actually worse than it looks, yes. I'm still hopeful they'll become escalators one day. And finally, don't worry. If you happen to get a C- in biology, physical science, and American Heritage, congratulations. You too can graduate from BYU. Yeah.
You're going to finish school here at some point.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning to keep studying here.
That's cool. So if you're taking American Heritage or something, you may see Egor in like 2 years in the Joseph Smith building.
I still don't know what this class is. Everybody is joking around this class. I still don't know what it is.
That's Egor Demin.
I still don't know what this class is.
I'd welcome Egor in our class.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I guess our response to Egor would be, you will.
You will.
If he's going to graduate, he will, right? So
Egor's is one of our favorites. His personality is awesome. He'd do great in that class because he just soak it all up. Now, whether or not it comes to the test, that's a different story, but that was some fun interaction there.
Do you know who else you will probably see before? Maybe not this year, but AJ Debunking said to us when he came, he was sitting right in that chair, and his dad was here, and he said, I need to finish my degree. And so I plan to come back, and, even if, first of all, he surprised us by saying, who said I was only coming for 1 year?
Yeah.
We looked at him like, come on, dude. Right? But then he said, but I need to come back and finish my degree. And we said, really? And he said, yeah, my mom said that she is adamant that I get my degree. And we said, well, if mom says that, and he goes, yeah, I will get my degree. And his dad Ace was just shaking his head. He will get his degree. So you may see AJ Debunking as an NBA player coming back to your American Heritage class at some point.
Yeah, and that's a good story. It illustrates, I think, how good our student athletes are.
Yeah.
That we see a fair number of them come through American Heritage, and to a person, they've been remarkable and make us proud to be members of the BYU community. They may not do as well as
Some
Coach
of them.
Satake
Some
did,
do really well.
but some do really well. And,
His C- set the standard.
C-. That's a passing grade.
Yes, it is.
That's right.
All right, so the warm-up band part is over with the show. We're now ready to start.
All right.
Tonight on the Wise Guys, we're going to tackle the top 5 myths of American heritage.
Are there people still on? I mean, I
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure that
Everyone's still here.
we haven't chased everybody
I'm
off.
just saying, that we're waiting for this.
Jess Cromwell said, "I love that class. We got to watch a couple of old movies, so I don't know what that's about." And Sylvia says, "I had a very good American history teacher, an American heritage teacher, and I took political science class as well."
Oh, good.
So, all 3 of
Glad to
those.
hear that.
That's a good success.
Let's tackle the top 5 myths, and we'll go one myth at a time. And we'll start with the myth number 1, and that is that this is a hard class that most students fail.
That is a myth.
That
is definitely a myth. Most students will not fail it. In fact, the last few semesters when we've taught, I think last semester about 70% of students got a B- or better. So a full letter grade better than Coach Sataki.
Wow.
And we tell students to look to their left and look to their right and then say, those people are going to get good grade.
It might not be you, but some people are going to really get it.
Look around. 2 out of 3 of you are going to get a good grade. It might not be you.
Yeah,
That's right.
They look both ways and they say, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
That's not quite right.
So how do you fight that? How do you fight that stigma when the grade shows that's not the case, but history or the mantra of that class says, "Oh, you're gonna struggle."
Yeah, I think some of it is parents or grandparents even had a bad experience, but really very, very few students are going to fail. We tell our students, and Kelly and I collaborate on basically everything we do in American Heritage, and we tell our students, you really have to kick us in the teeth if you want to fail this class. The way to fail it is just not to do the work. If you're diligently trying to do the work, you're going to pass the class.
Keep poking us with the stick and we'll give you the bad grade. But if you just do the work, you're going to be okay.
So it's the old saying, if you show up and you do what you're supposed to do, we'll give you the resources to pass the class.
That's right.
Isn't that what 90% of life is, they say?
It really is.
Trying to
Maybe
get a little
American
better each
Heritage
day.
is more a lesson on life than we think, right? So,
and there are lots of resources. We have amazing resources. We have a review room that's basically open all day, every day, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we do a lot of things. And the TAs are an enormous resource as well.
Yeah, the BYU administration has been very generous to make sure that this class has the resources it needs to succeed.
Because they know it's big.
It is big.
And they know it's hard. They had to take it, right? Everyone's had to come through.
And we want to stretch students, right? We want to help them do more than what they did in high school. So for some students, it's just that process of being stretched a little bit is challenging. But that's good for us, and we can learn from that.
Okay,
right,
so we got
ready?
myth number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's. So students feel like they're just going to get lost in the course. Like it's so much that they'll just see it lost and can't keep up.
Yeah.
Is that myth or
That's more
partly
myth.
true?
Once again, we have some of the most incredible teaching assistants on campus, and we have a full-time administrator, Krista Mortensen, who does a fantastic job.
She's
of
amazing.
Reaching out to students, and we have other course resources. So we're constantly doing what we can to make sure that students, if they think they need some help or want some help, that they get it. And the most underutilized resources on campus is always faculty office hours. Chris and I hold office hours, and students never take advantage of it. And when they come in, we grab them and start, "You're here, this is so great to see you," and then they're a little upset.
They're so excited to see them.
We're so excited.
Yeah, these old faculty members won't let them out of the office. But it's just because we like to talk to them.
And we work really hard to reach out to students, too, who might be struggling or maybe their attendance dropped off a little. We're going to reach out to them and try to figure out what's happening and try to connect them with the resources they need to do well, not just in American Heritage, but as they make this transition to college.
And isn't part of the challenge that they're feeling lost before they even walk into the room, because they will walk in and here's 450 people.
That's what I remember.
And they're from Virginia and no one else in here is. And so you have that feeling anyway. And then you see what you're going to study, and it's a little overwhelming. I wonder if everyone took that class as a senior, what their perspective would be.
Yeah, I've had a number of seniors who've taken
We get a lot
it.
of seniors. We shouldn't have many
wait till
They
the
wait
end.
till the very end,
time.
and then they say, "Oh, this." Most of them say, "Right, oh, this was a lot easier than I thought."
Yeah.
So,
Really?
I really enjoyed it. I should have taken it sooner. It's like, well,
That's
yeah,
senior.
that's it.
So maybe it should be required to wait till you're
sequencing, yeah.
Yeah. So BYU professors Chris Karpowitz and Kelly Patterson are on the Wise Guys with us tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. They both teach American Heritage. And tonight we're talking the top 5 myths of American Heritage classes at BYU. So you want to take them to number 3?
Number 3, American Heritage at BYU has a political bias. Fact or fiction? Myth or truth?
that is fiction.
That is fiction. In fact, Chris and I are grateful that some students think we're too liberal and other students think we're too conservative. I think that means we're sort of hitting.
Probably getting the Goldilocks principle just
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because we spend a lot of time talking about different modes of politics and the way in which they interact in our constitutional system. And sometimes that means that students may or may not like a certain way in which a president is characterized or a certain period of American history is characterized. But we try to be very fair.
Yeah, our goal is not at all, this is not in any way a goal of the course to change people's political views. What we want to do is give them some ideas that help them think about their own political views and help them make better political decisions. And so we're not trying to make
More
Republicans or more Democrats. We're trying to make people more thoughtful citizens.
So how hard has it been, or challenging now, because politics has certainly changed over the last 14 years, 15 years, and it's so different, and people respond to it so differently. Even this last weekend, we saw two very different scenes, depending on what channel you were watching. So as you two put the syllabus together to keep it current, how have you ridden that wave of the political culture that we're in now?
I think one of the big things that we're worried about is just the level of anger and rancor that we see in our politics today. And one of our goals for the course is to help students be peacemakers, help them to understand how to interact with people who might believe something different or have a different set of life experiences or a different set of political assumptions. And so we want to help them learn, one, where did those different perspectives come from? Why might someone believe one side or the other, given our constitutional principles and given American history? And then we want to help them to understand how to connect with people who are different from them and to do that in a way that's principled, that doesn't give up their own political ideas, but that connects and negotiates and learns how to talk with people of goodwill who have a different perspective. That's what we've lost so much of in our contemporary, very polarized politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other challenge is that as we get older, is that our students are young. And I was born during the Eisenhower administration. Our students were born at the end of the George W. Bush administration, and perhaps the first president they really know anything about is President Obama.
And then maybe just only dimly remember that.
Yeah, and so figuring out a way to sort of bridge that gap and to help them see that what's happening with politics today may or may not be normal.
Yeah, we have so many students who come in and the only thing they've ever known is our current very polarized political world. And so part of what we're trying to do is help them see, well, this is what's usual or normal about our current politics, but here's what's not so normal given American history. And so I think that helps them orient themselves in the political world a little more as well.
Yeah, I think I heard on the news today that it was 10 years ago today that President Trump came down the escalator in
Was it
Trump
10
Tower,
years?
His
which would mean
run for the presidency.
that he's been a central figure in the lives of these students.
Our freshmen were 7 or 8 when that happened.
That's crazy to think.
I know.
And so here's a little bit of a loaded question, and maybe we could do a whole show on this, but the way the political environment is now, and you guys have to teach it, and you're trying to teach moderation and respect for one another's views and all that. are we too far down this pathway of just polarizing and hate to get back to a time here in the near future or even in the distant future where we can have some decorum and respect one another's views? Is that possible?
I don't know. It's tough, right? But we do need ordinary people who are well informed about the political system, who have a sense of what our constitutional system is all about, and who are willing to engage with other people of goodwill. And I think that is needed at the elite level. It's needed among our politicians, but it's also needed among ordinary people, because otherwise, I mean, if ordinary people don't have that value, then if just regular voters like us don't have those values, then it's going to be hard to get them in our elected officials.
Political parties seek to exploit division, and that sort of is a hard incentive to overcome. But they can only exploit it if we allow it to happen. And we're very fortunate that we teach at an institution that has the resources of a board of trustees that is taught very clearly about what steps you need to take to become a peacemaker, and how to think about your situation in the political arena.
All right, here's another one, and then we'll get to myth number 4. When you teach through the cancel culture that has been so prevalent in recent years, where events that are significant in American heritage and American history are either pulled down or discredited or ignored by a movement that might be short-lived, but by a movement, how do you teach around that or through it? Maybe the question, how do you teach through that where you've got people in the country and in the classroom, because you got students from all over the place that are like, no, I'm going to eliminate that so it didn't happen when you know that it did.
I think that's a really worrisome trend, right? I think one of the things we talk about is sort of the meaning of patriotism, right? And patriotism isn't just what happens on July 4th. It means really trying to grapple with the nation's traditions, and good or bad. And that means sometimes confronting things that are hard and difficult. And I think the failure to do that is not very healthy, politically or otherwise.
One of the things we do, which I know the students don't like, and it's one of the reasons why they complain a little bit about the class, is we have them read original texts, sources. So we have a book on it we have them read called American Political Thought, but it's all original source primary source material. And so they're reading the different arguments that various people have made throughout American political history.
Yeah.
And so it's not, they're not taking our word for it. They're actually reading what Jefferson said. They're actually reading what Roosevelt said and the like.
And part of what they can see in all of that is that disagreements have been part of our political system from the very beginning. When James Madison writes in Federalist 10, part of what he's doing is trying to grapple with disagreement. The fact that we have different interests and different beliefs, different religious beliefs, different beliefs about who the best leaders are. And how do we grapple with that as a nation? How do we work through it? What kind of society do we need? What kind of political institutions do we need to work through that? And so one of the things that's great is that we actually do have a constitution that can allow us to work through those things if we'll rely on it.
And thank goodness for the musical Hamilton.
Yeah, like people I know kids say, wait a minute, Hamilton and Jefferson didn't like each other and didn't get along?
That's right.
And Washington, D.C. became the capital because he made a deal? Like, see, this stuff's been going on for a long, long time, but they made a deal and they figured out how to work with one another, even though I don't think Hamilton and Jefferson really liked each other.
Right.
No, they had lots of disagreements.
It wasn't until the end that Jefferson and Adam actually patched things up.
Yeah.
But the musical's fantastic.
But the music is fantastic.
The music is great.
And we try to make use of it.
Do you use Hamilton in the teaching?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there are things we can use.
Right? And you know what? Sylvia Textor says, I believe you're teaching BYU students how to think and not what to think. which
That's
is a
our
great,
hope.
great comment, right?
Yeah.
I think Hamilton.
We'd like to thank our family for that.
There you go.
Wisconsin.
But it's Hamilton makes you think, and you go, wait a minute, I need to go read about this actually in history again. I need to brush back up on that time in history. And so if Hamilton doesn't do anything else, it creates curiosity, and people go back and they study that time in history and go, do you know what? I completely forgot that was the position. I completely forgot that's how we got to that. That's really cool because there's an underlying truth to Hamilton that takes some liberties creatively.
That's right.
But the story itself has some underlying truth to it, and it forces you to think.
One of the great issues of our day, you actually can trace back to 1798 and the Alien and Sedition Act. We're talking about the Insurrection Act and the Alien and Sedition Act today.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back to 1790.
And it goes way back to when the founding generation was trying to figure out, how do we protect the country? How do we deal with disagreement?
Wow.
Well, and I think Hamilton does one other thing. It shows that somebody who went to Columbia could have some good ideas.
So there you go. Did he go to Columbia?
Yeah.
He went to Columbia.
And he went to Princeton.
Which
so
is where
Princeton
James
was
Madison went.
Madison
Right.
and Hamilton.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
And Hamilton was right on most of the major issues.
That leads me to believe that the two
Who
of
was
you,
the father of the Constitution?
the two of you are about to sing a song. Is that right?
No, that would really be the end of this particular
we care for your viewers way more.
live stream. That's right.
All right. here's
Hamilton.
number
Alexander.
4.
I have to sing every show, by the way. Dave makes me sing every show. So
You ready for myth number 4?
yeah, let's go myth number 4. American Heritage is just a history class.
That is also not true.
Not true.
Yeah, I mean, we do cover some important elements, important periods and episodes in American history, but we're truly an interdisciplinary course. We have some political science that we're trying to teach, some economics, trying to understand the basics of a market system, for example, and basics of political economy and why that's important to the political decisions we make.
Yeah, it's clear that the United States is just a different nation after the Civil War than it was before the Civil War. And so you can't help students understand why it's so different unless you teach a little history.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think it's a fascinating class because of everything that we've talked about so far. But it can get lost in the, I want to learn about something that doesn't matter today, because today is a scroll screen type student, right?
Which is why
attention spans like this.
Which is why we tell our students no screens in class.
Yeah.
Try to,
and we also
unless of course they're listening to wise guys in class.
That's right.
And we're also
exceptions.
and we're also competing with the football season.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the great thing about teaching American Heritage during the football season is we often will use clips of the different games before class
if there's been a big win on Saturday night, then usually on Monday morning, the person who does our media, so Cindy does just a great job, and she will usually put together a clip of the previous week's game, and we play that a little bit before class, and it does seem to get the students to
Nice.
After the Utah and Oklahoma State games, the students were in good mood.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Hey, John Crowder asked a really fascinating question, so I'm just going to read it as he asked it here, and you guys can see it there too, but he asks, do these professors feel that AI is shaping students about politics and social matters with false statements due to algorithms that the students are subject to due to their online behaviors?
Yeah, there are a couple of different
that's
things
a deep
there.
question.
There's a lot going on there. I mean, AI, students are using it more and more, and we're trying to, as educators, trying to think about what that means for us and how we help them use it in positive ways and not to use it to avoid thinking. But also in terms of social media, that's another place where if students are getting all of their information through their social media feed, it's probably not a great source of
It's not all accurate,
balanced
right?
political and balanced and accurate political
the
information.
political science research shows that if your reading and watching has been curated for you, then
Yeah, because the algorithms do push things.
Yes.
So you start to read a certain thing, and then it just pushes you further and further down that
That's
line.
right. That's right. And it's trying to get you to engage, and it's trying to get you to stay on that app. And
the way to engage is to get you worked up. And
Yeah.
That's why when I'm reading the Old Testament, Seinfeld clips keep coming up.
That's exactly right.
Because the algorithm knows I'm going to send him some Seinfeld.
That's
He's going to watch that. He's going to watch that. All right. So myth number 1, American Heritage, a hard course that most students fail. We've determined that's a myth.
Debunked that.
Students feel they are going to get lost in the course. They could, but we've shown them, discussed how
They've
they
got
can.
resources.
one thing that's important to say about that is students should know that we really do care about them. We want them to succeed. And this is not a course that's meant to try to make them feel discouragement or
BYU's gone out of its way not to have
And
leader courses.
you don't have ones where you go. I think people say, well, they have to grade on a curve, and a certain number of us need to fail. That's not true, right?
That's not true.
If everybody came to that class and they were all phenomenal, could they all have an A?
Yes.
We'd feel great about it.
We would love
I mean,
that.
that's not going to happen. But if that all of a sudden,
There's differences in preparation and effort that people put into it.
But if all of a sudden you just had a class of just, you got really lucky and you had 300 people that all were phenomenal, they could all get an A, right?
Yes.
There you
Yes.
That's good. That gives us hope.
And nobody has to fail it. That's the other thing that I will say.
All right, myth number 3, American Heritage at BYU has a political bias. We talked about that as a myth. Number 4, American Heritage is just a history class. Clearly, that's not the case. And the number 5 myth in our top 5, American Heritage is boring. Is that a myth?
Well, I think it's a myth.
I think it's a myth. I mean,
how can it
maybe
be boring with you two?
Yeah, we do go out of our way to try and spice up the lectures a little bit and find ways to engage the students. And sometimes the lectures focus maybe a little bit too much on history, and they hear from us a little bit too much. But we try to figure out ways to make the points relevant to them.
We're trying to engage them. We're trying to help them see how this is relevant to their lives and why they might want to pay attention to this, even if they're not going to go on and be a political science major or a history major or an econ major.
I would have never tried out to be a cheerleader if I hadn't taught American Heritage.
That's right. We've done that.
Yeah.
You tried out to be a teacher?
Sort of, yeah. We to teach our students about Greek thinking and the idea of teleology. We bring in the cheerleaders, or brought in the cheerleaders.
Oh, wow.
And then they try to teach us a move, and I fail miserably at it because I have no athletic skill whatsoever.
We're very enthusiastic.
But we're very enthusiastic.
Our gymnastics skills are lacking.
But in the end, being a cheerleader is an honorific title, and you don't honor those individuals who do not have the skills.
So it's a way for us to help students think about, well, what is the purpose of cheerleading, right? And we can then transfer that to other things as well. When
I
we
tried
think
to
about
beg my way out onto the field a couple of times with them, and
They
that
didn't
doesn't
like
work.
that.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that allows us to say, hey, by the way, the national championship cheer squad, they won the national championship this last year.
Yeah.
yes,
For the first time in a while. They were here. We had 4 of them on, and they did a fantastic job. So if you go to wiseguys.com, you go down to the cheer squad, and you can listen to that podcast as well.
We've had cheerleaders in the class.
Yeah, there you go.
They're
terrific.
fantastic.
Hey, Mark Phillips says, he's here from Roxborough, North Carolina. He says, I was in the original American Heritage guinea pig class in 1977. Took
wow.
the first semester that was offered. The first test was a fiasco, but I made it through. That's what he
For
says.
him or for the professors who made it?
I don't know what that means.
1977. I think that's even before your time at BYU.
Definitely before my time.
77.
Wow.
We don't see a grade, Mark.
Yeah.
We don't know how you finished that.
This is one of the
that
interesting
course.
challenges about American Heritage is that we teach so many students that if we make a mistake and only 10% of the students email us to point out the mistake, that's a lot of emails.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
emails.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it is.
I only did how'd you do in American Heritage?
I think
I think I got a B plus.
I think I
That's
was
a
in
good
there. I
grade.
think I got a C plus.
C plus. The only class I took twice at BYU, I took Zoology 260 twice, but not because I had a bad grade the first time, because the girl that I fell in love with was taking it, and I retook it to be in the class with her.
Wow, that's true
great.
love.
And I married that girl, and we've been married for 42 years.
I will say.
How about that?
that I
remarkable.
once took my wife, my now current wife, when we were first dating. Part of a date was attending part of an American Heritage lecture.
That's pathetic.
I know it is kind of sad.
I mean,
That says a little bit about. I did do better than that.
No wonder.
eventually.
She fought through it. She fought through it. I hope there was
That's
ice
good.
cream after
Yeah.
or something.
No
like
wonder you
that.
ended up Princeton.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, as you've taught thousands and thousands of these students coming through, a lot of them are athletes that we talk about here on this show and follow them on BYU
Yeah, they
TV
come on
and
this
everything
show,
we do. What have you noticed over the years? How is today's athlete different from the athlete of a few decades ago in the classroom?
I think they're more engaged. I think they're incredibly disciplined. That's the thing that's most impressive to me. Not in American Heritage, but in another class this last semester, I had 3 athletes, and they were fantastic, all of them. They were so disciplined. They were right on it. They were eager to learn. They were invested in their college education, not just in playing sports. And so, I just really enjoy working with them.
They have to be invested because, as you have charted so well for the audience, athletics at BYU have changed. It's much more of a métier, a career, a job now. And their travel schedules, I mean, the football team and the basketball team going to West Virginia, I mean, they have to plan and they have to find ways to study and take exams at odd hours, and they do it with a certain grace and humility that I find very touching.
We've noticed that too in our interviews. Rarely do you come across one where you're like going, they're just barely here they're here to carry the ball, get a few yards, and get out of here. They've been very impressive. As they've had to be better competitive just to get here,
That's right.
their mindset's different.
Yeah, BYU is a different institution now academically than it was in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, very high level. And I heard a quote from another coach at a different institution that a player told me once, where he said to the kids that I have to take a test, and the coach said, "You didn't come here to play school. You came here to play football." I don't think that happens at BYU.
No, it doesn't.
No.
At least not in our experience. We've had various interactions with academic advisors and coaches, and they've always been incredibly positive.
Now, you two love American Heritage. We can hear it in your voice. Kelly graduated in 82, Chris in 94.
Wait, are you going to tell on him?
And somehow you two managed to not take American Heritage at BYU.
That's why it took them so long to invite me to teach it. I think they were suspicious.
How did you get through all the 2 people? How did you two avoid taking American Heritage?
Well, I was a political science major, and I had AP classes and other things that I didn't have to take that requirement. And plus, you can fulfill it in other ways with multiple. If you're a political science major, you're probably going to take a political science course and an econ course,
and
that
the 3 or the 2
fulfills
combined
the American Heritage requirement.
Yeah, you can substitute the 2 for the 1.
So it's a harder road.
It is harder, in the sense of two courses.
And that's how I did it.
Yeah, so you did the same. So you both undergrad in BYU, and then off to Columbia for you.
Yeah, New York City in the 80s.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
The music was great.
It was great.
I got out of New York in the 80s because I grew up in New York and I came out here in the 80s. So, and then you off to Princeton in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think of New Jersey and they think of like Newark, I think, and they don't understand that down that corridor and to the shore, Jersey is the Garden State for a reason.
It is the Garden
right?
State. I love it.
It's a
so
beautiful place.
It's not just Newark, the airport.
The first
time my mother came to see us in New Jersey, though, she landed in Newark, and then as we're driving back, I could see her looking around, and I said, "Mom, this is not where we live. It's going to be okay.
Stay with us."
Yeah,
5 questions
parts of Jersey
for BYU professors Chris Karpowicz and Kelly Patterson is presented by Strategy Square. Give your business an online boost with Chantal, another BYU grad. You can reach her at strategysquare.co. This is where we ask you 5 questions, and there's a bonus question at the end of this one for rapid fire answers.
We fear this segment.
Yeah, this is easy.
We're really looking forward to it.
Well, who's going to start first?
Chris.
Okay, Chris. So, but that will the next time. Then we'll have Kelly go.
Okay.
First. So, first question is your favorite sports movie.
Well, I grew up in Lawrence, Kansas. So it has to be Hoosiers. I'm not an Indiana fan.
But you're a Midwest basketball guy.
I'm a basketball guy, Midwest. That's why BYU being in the Big 12 is so much fun for me.
Oh, yeah.
I was a Big 8 kid growing up, and then a Big 12.
You and Sherry do.
Yep.
Hoosiers act like they're the basketball state of all time, but everybody knows that basketball was a Kansas sport.
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
Plus Gene
James
Hackman was
Naismith,
awesome.
first coach at Kansas.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, so Hoosiers, great choice.
Kelly?
Remember the Titans.
All right, that's
good.
both
good.
of those are very popular ones. So remember the Titans is a good one. So, all right, we're gonna start with Kelly. Favorite singer or band?
Electric Light Orchestra.
ELO.
Oh my goodness.
That's the first.
ELO in 3 years.
one-
We have not
that
had
one I-
ELO in 3 years.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't
But
either.
ELO's awesome.
I did not
ELO.
either. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that
Did you-
just brought back a whole flash of memories.
Did you ever see him in concert?
No, I didn't. I didn't go to many concerts growing up. I should have.
Well,
So,
I haven't
ELO,
seen
okay.
ELO either, but that's awesome.
Favorite singer or band? Chris?
Well, it has to be you too, I think. But I will tell you, I was so discouraged
Yeah,
this
this
last
is
semester.
dispiriting.
We have this little clip of Bono talking about the Declaration of Independence, and we've always played it, and it always was so great. Students loved it. And this last semester I played it, and they're like, "Who is this guy?"
What?
Who's Bono?
And that
They
made
did
me
not
feel
know who Bono
older
was.
than anything.
My kids
has.
know who Bono is, but they're older than. They're all
They're
graduates
still
of BYU.
singing. They're still
I
doing their
know.
thing.
I know.
Wow, that's saddening.
Yeah, that
So
is
okay, so
really-
now we're back to Chris. Favorite breakfast cereal?
Favorite breakfast cereal? Well, I will say this one because my granddaughters, I have 2 granddaughters, love it. And I don't eat a lot of sugar cereal, but they love their Fruity Pebbles. So
Okay.
that's where I'll go.
And we've had
No
that a couple of
shame in
times.
that.
Have you ever had Rice Krispies treats made out of Fruity Pebbles?
Yeah, I have. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It's money. Like
little
I
more
like it
flavor
better
in
than
there.
it's really really good. Okay, Kelly.
Crucially.
What?
It's a French granola.
Oh, now the
You know what?
French food comes
That's
through.
the second. You're the second person that said that. Who else said
It
that?
has milk chocolate shavings in it.
Okay, so it's not
Awesome.
healthy. It
No,
pretends to be healthy.
The French
sounds
rank
healthy.
it as a D.
Okay, you saved me on that when you pivoted
You
from.
saved yourself.
You got me in the chocolate
Yeah.
shavings. I'm like, okay, I could try that.
Oh my goodness! There it is.
There it
is.
Chocolate chocolato. Oh, I might have to try that
Okay,
one.
that's-
I just had granola with
Good job,
blueberries
DJ.
before I came. I eat cereal
That's
before I
too
come.
good.
Normally, I have Cinnamon Life. His is
That's a
Captain
good one.
Crunch. Not even Crunch Berries. Plain old Captain
Captain
Crunch.
Crunch, is that like a natural
I had that this
sort
morning.
of cereal?
Yes,
What's that
fantastic.
made out of?
It's made out of Captain Crunch. That's what it's made out
Captain
of.
Crunch.
Yeah. it will cut the roof of your mouth.
It
That's all I know.
does.
If you're a rookie,
like
only
going
if
to
you're
a
a rookie.
dentist.
You gotta
Yeah,
let
okay.
it sit there in the middle.
Rookie.
So there you go.
Don't get distracted by Crunch Berries.
And
It's
DJ,
just straight
thanks for
Captain Crunch.
immediately showing us what Crucially was.
That was
there we go.
great.
Favorite BYU football moment? It's your turn.
Okay, best football game I've ever attended, still to this day, is BYU Miami.
Oh yeah, I called that game.
I was
That's how old I
in
am.
the stands. I was briefly on the field. So yeah, it was incredible.
Did you rush the field?
Oh yeah, at the end of the game.
So what you're saying is this BYU professor right in front of us rushed the field as a student with down there with Ty
I know
Detmer.
what it is to
There
be
have
at
been-
Bell Edwards Stadium.
There have been
going
some electric
crazy.
moments in that stadium, like Arizona State a couple years ago was electric. The Utah game,
Yeah.
you know.
Just because
But that Miami game,
That was
I
incredible.
agree with you. I have never felt the electricity in that stadium like it was that night.
What was the big thing about it for you?
Well, it was unexpected, right? I mean, we were excited. We were excited about Ty Detmer. We knew he was going to be good, but just to beat Miami, who
Yeah,
had
they're
been
number
at
one.
the top of the college football world for so long, so it was just incredible.
And people always say, hey, this one or that one, and I always go back to that one, and they go, well, why is that one so special? I go, because Miami was good, and
Yeah.
they still were. Like, they thumped somebody in the Cotton Bowl that year. Like, they were a top 3 team, and then they won the national championship again the next year.
That's right.
I would bet
That may be the best team that BYU's ever beaten.
I would bet that your students would appreciate knowing that as a student, you stormed the field.
I love
That's
this.
awesome.
Those lawless Princeton
I
graduates.
love this. So that's Princeton always,
Exactly.
So Miami
always where they're
over
not
here,
supposed to be. So, what about you, Chris?
So is it one that you have to,
Kelly.
Is it one that you have to attend as a student?
No. It's any BYU moment.
I'd say
Sports moment.
How about the most recent one in Rice-Eccles Stadium
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
with
Right.
my son?
Were you there?
You were there?
weren't you?
Yeah.
Were you wearing a
should've rushed the
royal
field.
blue jacket?
Yes, we were.
Did you rush the field?
No.
Good. Smart man.
I had a couple
It's
of
a
very,
different thing now.
very
good
large, very
decision.
large neighbors who
Escorted you out of the
escorted
stadium?
me out of the stadium. You know.
So what was it about that one that exceeds all the others?
Because it certainly looked like BYU had lost not once but twice. And so your emotions went all the way down and then all the way back up. And then I was there with my son, and we just
fun.
got to hug.
So describe the energy change when the defensive holding call was made. You thought the game was over, then there's a flag, and all of a sudden BYU's the first down. They're still at their 9-yard line or 19-yard line. But what? How did the energy change?
For me,
Yeah.
I said, it's over. BYU's going to win.
Oh,
Really?
you
That's
just
your
felt
thought?
like that was the turning point. You felt like, that's all we needed.
They had the space they needed. Jake was going to make a completion, and I just had all this faith in Will Farron. I just like the kid with that mustache. I mean, it's just like,
Will and his wife came on the show, and also Sam, the punter, and his wife. So we had and we brought the wives in, and we talked about that moment. And the most nervous of all of them was Sam's wife, because he's the holder.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
she was crazy.
and like Will's wife was the least nervous of anybody in the room was Will himself. We call him Big Game Bill for a reason. And I don't know if you remember, but Kelly Papinga was quoted after the game, the special teams coach, where he went to him and said, "What hash do you want it on?" And Will said, "I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'll go through the pipes." He wasn't nervous. He didn't doubt, and that's why he's who he is, and that's why he's an NFL guy. Yeah. But interesting, like the one that was probably the most uptight was Sam Vanderhaar's wife, the holder's wife, because she was worried. Oh no! What if it's a perfect snap and it slips through his hands and he doesn't get it down? Then this whole game is on him, right?
So walk us through the kick from your perspective, the whole play, and then what you felt and what was going on around you.
well, I was with a whole bunch of other BYU fans because I've learned my lesson that when I go to Rice-Eccles Stadium,
You've
I
learned your
sit
lesson
in
the
the
hard way.
BYU
Yeah, that's right.
section. It's just a more pleasant experience. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And it went through, and just this overwhelming sense of accomplishment, of satisfaction. Because I live up in Salt Lake City and most of my neighbors are U of U fans.
Oh.
So there's a lot of
riding on it for
lot
Kelly.
riding on that.
Yeah, church is not the same.
Yeah. Oh wow. Before the
church
holding,
was awesome
before the
next
holding
day.
penalty, like before the holding penalty, how low were you?
Low.
Yeah.
Like just, well, there was some optimism that the people would be nice to me as I was walking
That
out.
was the only thing.
I saw a great picture on Twitter the next day from church, from up at the things where the songs are, the numbers of the pages,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
was 22 to 21. So yeah, it does carry over into Sunday.
Savage.
That's awesome. Those are great memories.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Miami and beating the Utes. That's good.
Those are great BYU memories.
I almost went with Tanner Mangum in Nebraska because as a Kansas kid growing up, I saw a lot of bad football.
Yeah.
And a lot of beatdowns from
Right.
Nebraska.
Nebraska
toward
was really
Kansas.
good in your day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. That was a nuts.
That was incredible.
Dave and I were on the field right at the goal line, right on the side that Mitch caught the ball on
Really?
at that game, doing a show from the sideline, and we just watched it. And then he caught it, and we looked at each other, and very calmly Dave goes, "Did he get over the goal line with it? Did the ball cross the goal line?" I go, "I don't know." And the ref raised his hands, and we go, "He did."
Yeah,
I was in San Francisco. It was the American Political Science Association annual meeting.
That sounds
and
exciting.
I was with
riveting.
another American Heritage professor, Jeremy Pope, and we were watching the game, and we just went crazy when that happened. I think they may have called security in the hotel.
Those BYU
This
guys.
is another thing our students should know,
Yeah.
and that you're doing a wonderful job bringing out, is that we really care
Yeah.
about
Well, you've lived
BYU
it.
and about BYU sports and,
Yeah.
That's fun.
and those sorts of things.
That's good.
Yeah. That's awesome. We do have a bonus question for
But wait,
you.
go to number 5.
Oh yeah, I forgot 5.
I'm curious to hear this one.
Yeah. What's your favorite, or most, it could be favorite, craziest excuse you've ever heard of from a student about failing American Heritage?
American Heritage?
Yeah. Like they failed and you're like, well, and they come in and you go, well,
They come in with a story of why it didn't work out.
this happened, and like, do you have like a crazy one where you're just like, wow?
Well, I've had a lot of grandparents pass away. That's been one.
Man.
I don't know.
Well, it's a tough one because our BYU students are so honest.
Yeah.
So they don't make up a crazy excuse like Dave and I would.
Yeah, they don't make up.
It's a different time.
The dog ate my paper.
The worst one I've heard is this.
Yeah, now you've got us thinking.
Now we're going.
Okay.
The worst one I've heard is someone who, so two students turned in the same paper.
Oh.
And so we brought them in to talk, and it was 2 women. One of them was getting married, and the other was her bridesmaid. And she said, I copied the paper from the woman who was the bride. And that was pretty tough. That was a pretty tough day for that person.
Did the wedding go on as planned?
The wedding went on as planned. In fact, she pleaded with me. She said, will you please, please, please let me tell the bride and don't you tell her? So that was a tough one.
Yeah,
that was a tough one.
That was a tough one.
So did both of them get in trouble?
No, just the one who copied.
Just the one.
Oh. And did she not have a chance to redo it?
I can't remember what we did there. I think she had a chance to pass the course still, but it was
Man. That's
yeah,
tough.
It was tough.
Larry, it feels
was
like
very tough.
you're about to tell us something really good. What is
Well,
it?
no, that's just like one of the big differences now is technology. And so students think they are bulletproof when it comes to technology. And so they'll be on their way to spring break somewhere or some
We've had
vacation,
this.
and they'll try and upload their paper off of their phone, and they'll say, I was out in the middle of the Nevada desert, and there was no internet.
I was on the beach in Florida, and it wouldn't
It
upload.
wouldn't upload my papers. Will you please
It was
accept
done.
it?
It was
done.
So now we do say, like, if you're going somewhere, upload it before you leave.
Yeah, make sure that you're not on your way to Fish Lake or something.
Yeah.
So can you tell if somebody uses AI to write their paper? Is that a problem these days?
It is a problem. It is a problem. AI is pretty good at summarizing other people's arguments. What it's not good at is thinking for itself. It doesn't it doesn't really do the creative work. And so we have a number of sort of safeguards that we put in place to try to avoid students just using AI. But in the end, really, they're just shortchanging themselves, right? Because
the point of the class is to learn how to learn.
that's right. Yep. That's right. And so if you're paying tuition to come and learn how to think critically and how to think creatively, and if you're just allowing AI to do that, then you're not really getting all you could out of your college experience.
That's the challenge for this next generation.
My brother, we were talking about this at dinner last night because we knew this was happening. My brother said that his challenge, he loved the class, but his challenge with American Heritage a few years back was when you take the test and there's like 11 potential answers for a question, and his question was, why? And so there it is.
Why?
Why?
We usually don't do that.
We don't do that. Other faculty do. We don't do that.
Well, that's why you two are the best.
Yes.
That's right.
But,
we don't. We try to avoid the like A and C and D.
Dude, I don't
and
like which one of these is the best answer. I'm like, wait a minute, are you telling me like multiple of these are right, but one's the best? Now you're messing with my brain. Stop.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
We're always working to make the tests clearer and more straightforward. Part of what's hard, one of the things we ask our students to do, is to apply the principles that they're learning to a new situation that they haven't seen before. And that is really tough cognitively. It's a big cognitive leap to go from I just memorized this thing to now I have to apply it to a new situation. And so that's
just
one
not
of the
thinking
things.
as critical thinking.
That's right. That's right.
Knowing that the Constitution was ratified in 1789 is...
That's just memorization.
Yeah,
Did you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
I got the whole thing memorized.
I don't think he did.
I can't even question that. All right, here's a bonus
you guys are
question.
smooth.
I don't think you remember that.
Here's your bonus question.
So smooth.
Oh, yeah. Give him the bonus.
What do you make of the quote, "You can run, but you can't hide from American heritage"?
We do tell them that.
Yeah,
actually,
no,
we end our first lecture with that because I mean it's true at BYU. You've got to get through the American Heritage requirement in some way, but
it's true in a procedural sense and it's true in an existential sense. Right? It's like you can't get through BYU without American Heritage, but you can't really honestly, truly appreciate your place in the world and in the political arena and in the context of history without thinking about these big questions and what was the founding generation trying to accomplish?
And as Kelly indicated before, right, these kinds of questions are all around us still today, right? It's not like this is just something that happened in 1789 and we don't have to think about it anymore. We're still debating many of these kind of core issues, and people of goodwill have different ideas about what's going on and what we need to do as a nation. And so having some of these core concepts, having some of these ideas that allow you to allow our students to join that conversation in a productive way, that's what we want.
Well, we want to ask you a question that you can show the students at the start of the school year, now that you're here on the Wise Guys.
Yeah, that's right.
And the football season will be just getting underway.
Okay.
So your two perspectives as football analysts, what are the keys for a successful season this fall? And then when you play this back in December, we'll find out if you guys were right.
Like there's high accountability on this show, too, by the way.
Well, the first half hour of the show made me really excited about the coming season. I mean, BYU sports is at a level I have never seen before.
It's amazing.
Really, it's extraordinary.
So 11-2 last year. What do you think they can do this time around?
Well, I don't know. I think they can do, but I'm always terrible at over/under on the number of wins. But
if we were better at this, we wouldn't be professors.
That's right. I like what you said before, Blaine. I think it's defense, right? It's going to start with defense. We're going to have a great defense, and I think we've got some exciting running backs. We're going to have a good offensive line, and if you've got that, then you're going to be competitive in a ton of games. That's my thought.
Do you want a prediction?
Yeah, give us a number.
Let's
Between the
hear
two of
it.
you, what's the number? How many wins this fall for the Cougs?
For me, the over and under would be 9.
9.
Oh, that's good.
That seems fair. That seems like legit.
I was going to go around 8 or 9 too.
Yeah.
So
And I'm thinking that if that defensive line meshes, then I think the defense will be even better. And if the offense can just keep scoring enough, as it did last year, I hope it's better. If it's better, I think 9-3 is very doable.
Yeah. And what people say, can they be better than last year? And I always go, oh, wow, folks, like in this league, that's a really high,
that's a high expectation.
To win 11 again? Like
and we've got to go back to Colorado
if they win
after
9
that bowl game.
and then go to a bowl and
That's
then
gonna be
get to
exciting.
10 in a bowl, if they win 9, that will be a remarkable back-to-back.
Yeah,
I don't know that
great
people
season.
understand that, though. I think most people are like, well, if they won 11, and they got all these folks back, they should win 12. Because there's some luck that comes with winning 11, right? You stay healthy, you get a couple of breaks, you get a holding call to
Get a 35-yard touchdown.
So it takes a little bit. To win 11 games in a season, there's some luck.
Yeah.
9, I think, is a very reasonable expectation. And anything above 9 to me is like gravy and would be really, really a special season. You go back-to-back double-digit win seasons in the regular season, that's incredible.
Michael says they're going to go 14-0 unless I'm proven wrong.
Michael,
Well
good
said.
hedge, Michael.
Devontae's on the line from
impeccable
Chile.
logic.
Yeah,
Logic
Devontae
there.
joined late. He says, hey, I'm joining late from Chile. Hey, we welcome you to come anytime you want on the show from Chile.
That makes this an international discussion about American heritage.
So you guys,
That's
we're talking about American heritage in Singapore and in Chile tonight.
That's remarkable.
pretty awesome.
It really is.
And BYU is a global It's a global campus. The world is our campus is not a false statement. We see it every Monday night. People from all over the globe just come in to talk BYU sports and BYU and American Heritage.
And you just see BYU fans everywhere. The last time I was in New York, I was on the air train getting back in JFK to get to my gate, and I had my BYU sweatshirt on, and somebody said, "Oh, are you going to Provo?" Just out of the blue. And
so my wife's talking to me today, walking up Fifth Avenue, and then she goes, "Hey, Shep," and I go, "Who are you talking to?" She goes, "Jason Shepard just walked by." I'm like, "Shep just walked by?" I said, "That's right. He's on vacation this week. He's back there. He walked right past Brenda on Fifth Avenue." I go, "See, the world is our campus. It's a small world out there." And Brenda and Shep were walking up Fifth Avenue today together.
Listen, American Heritage is a challenging class, but the two of you make it better and make it fun. And we were hoping to show your personalities tonight, because this is how you are in the classroom. And
we have a lot of fun.
And that's your area of expertise. And we busted the 5 myths. And it's been fun interacting with our stream, and this will live forever on YouTube. And we welcome you two back.
Thank you very much.
Would love to come back anytime.
We're going to make this
you'll have us.
an annual summer showdown, and we can talk about how different kids think now from last year.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We'll talk more about AI, and then we may even get into politics next time.
We really appreciate you. Thank you for all you do to elevate the name of the university and the marvelous way in which you inform us.
Listen, if you'd have said that at the start, this would have been a whole different interview.
Yeah. We can be nicer than we were.
Kelly
somehow
Patterson,
don't believe that.
Chris Karpowitz from American Heritage, 2 professors. And if your kids are going to school this fall and they're signed up for this class, try to make sure that they have one of these 2 teachers.
Absolutely.
And then let us know how that went, at the end of the semester.
Yep.
And we'll follow up. So, guys, thank you.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Happy summer.
And no commercial breaks. So you just go, "Hey, see you guys," and you just get to walk off.
Okay.
All right.
See you guys.
We'll see you.
Thank you so much, guys.
That's Chris and Kelly and the American Heritage classes at BYU. As we mentioned, 3,400 students will be in there taking that class this fall, and these 2 will be teaching a whole bunch of them. And they've been in our Provo lair here, and now they're going to hit the street, and we hope to have them back. They're on the front line of what's going on, and Blaine, you'll be on campus with me tomorrow as we host Sports Nation. But one thing that's going on at BYU right now is there's this invasion of FSY kids, and those kids will be back in a few years as BYU students, and they'll be taking this class probably from these guys. As the hits just keep coming. But there's bodies all over campus here in the middle of June.
Yeah.
It's just a machine that doesn't stop.
Well, and a bunch of sports camps are going on the last 3 weeks. Our son Gavin's a football coach, and so he's been dusk to dawn, and they've had little Cougar Cubs camps. Some of my grandkids came up and played in that. 5-year-olds out there learning about BYU and getting exposed to the campus. So fun. The little guys got to have their first day of practice this last week in LaVell Edwards Stadium. And they ran down out of the tunnel, and they had flag bearers like Harvey Longy was there. And it's like some former players ran them out onto the field so they could experience that as 5 and 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds. And they held the first day of practice there. And they had elite high school camps. They had high school camps. And this is going on in all the sports all over campus this last week. And actually for the last 3 weeks. And so BYU in the summertime just becomes a place that opens up, and BYU people with BYU ties from all over the world come to campus for FSY and for sports camps and for dance camps and for anything you can imagine. And what a great opportunity for young people to come on campus.
We'll be on campus tomorrow doing BYU Sports Nation at 10 o'clock Mountain Time on BYU TV and BYU Radio. It's about once a year, maybe once every 2 years, they allow us to do the show together. Jeremy and Spencer are off at some golf thing.
And then the ratings are so high, they don't dare to put you and I together again.
We can't do that for a while because it skews the younger fellas. But that'll be tomorrow at 10. Jonathan Tavanari will be a guest with us.
That'll be really fun. You and I get to be on a lot with Spencer and with Jaron. We fill in whenever we can, but it is a rare treat for you and I get to go do it together, and it doesn't happen very often.
So that's tomorrow. Look for us at 10 o'clock Mountain Time on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Let's get to some campus notes and talk about track and field. What do you want me over here a little bit?
Hi, Sunday, move over. Said,
all right, trying to get.
DJ is in charge of us.
Yeah. So. He's like, could you move over? So I believe our sponsors will be over my left shoulder. Is that right, DJ?
Yeah, that's right.
That's it, right.
Oh, you got to move over.
Come over a little. I think I want to go this way.
No, you're good. And then DJ can move the camera.
And he's going to move the camera there. So
beautiful.
Cut off the N on Mountain
Now
American.
We got it.
All right.
So thanks, DJ.
When we have 4 guests, and we have 2 guests, and we move us over here, it's like
a lot of moving
all
around.
of a sudden, it's like going to a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
So now we're back to the regular huddle.
Back to campus notes, and we're going to start with track and field, the NCAA Outdoor Championships. BYU men finished in 11th place, highlighting that's the highest Big 12 finish, by the way. So they were the highest Big 12.
That's great.
That's their 4th top 15 finish since 2013. So it's pretty cool. And BYU is the most dominant program in the country in cross country. But they're also a dominant program in track and field, which is really cool.
They've been so good. James Corrigan gets the national title in the 3,000-meter steeplechase in 8:16.41. First team All-American. He finished 9th last year.
Yeah.
He finished 1st this year.
Yeah.
He was in the Olympics this year. He was a cross-country national champion this year.
What a year.
Big 12 champion this year. One of the most decorated, if not the most decorated year in the history of BYU sports for any athlete.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And,
you were in Olympic
and
Games.
He's a junior.
Yeah. So, and then Ben Barton, 6th in the decathlon, first team All-American. And then Creed Thompson, 8th in the 10,000 meters, first team All-American. Trey Jackson, Eli Hazlitt, Jonah Hamuli, and Josh Taylor, 7th in the 4x400 relay, first team All-Americans, and they set a school record of 3:02.51.
The BYU women finished 18th. Their second, they were the second highest in the Big 12. Texas Tech was a little better. It's their 4th top 20 finish in 5 years. Individual honors, Lexi Holiday Lowry took 2nd place in the steeplechase, 9:08.68, school record, first team All-American. Taylor Lovell, 9th place in the steeplechase, 2nd team All-American. Megan Hunter, 3rd in the 800 meters, first team All-American. Sammy Oblad, 7th in the 400 meters, first team All-American. And Jenna Hutchins, 11th place in the 5,000 meters, second team All-American. I thought it was interesting on the coverage Friday and Saturday night. There was a BYU athlete in just about every big event.
Yeah, it's so good. It's the deepest team they've ever taken back.
Yeah.
And just, they're on a roll. Both on the men's and the women's side. It's really fun to see. And just like all these other things we talked about, the BYU sports is, I don't know if I've ever felt it rolling like this, at least not for a long, long time. Yeah. So softball, incoming freshman Rita Tavita is the 2025 Utah Gatorade Player of the Year. Rita was a star at West Jordan High School, led the Jaguars to their first championship, first state championship. She's a pitcher and first baseman. She hit .557 with 15 home runs and 41 RBIs. We look forward to watching her play at Gail Miller Field for head coach Gordon Eakins, who's one of our favorite guests to have on the show. So, wow. Great job. Congratulations to Rita, and I'm excited to have her in a BYU uniform.
Yeah, that's good. Men's volleyball, BYU signee Leighton Bluth has made the 2025 USA Boys Under-19 World Championship roster. A 5'8 libero from Gilbert, Arizona. He and his teammates will compete against the world July 24th through August 3rd in Uzbekistan. Who goes there?
Yeah, wow.
They're going.
That's pretty big stuff. And then Kai and Samson Nakua, how about them? USFL Championship. They finished as runners-up in the UFL Championship game. The DC Defenders beat Michigan and the Nakua brothers 58-34 in the championship game.
Yeah, it went south, but they got to the show, got to the big game. Speaking of the show, a couple of Cougars in Major League Baseball. Daniel Schneemann hitting .243 now with 7 home runs. Cleveland in 3rd place in the American League Central. They're chasing Detroit. They're playing at the Giants Tuesday night, so Schneemann gets to come out west for a little bit. Justin Sterner, who started the year with the A's in their pitching rotation, is in the minor leagues. And by the way, the A's are going to break ground on their $1.7 billion ballpark in Vegas next Monday.
Yeah, can you believe that? Vegas is like big-time sports town now.
Yeah, how about that?
And the way they embrace the NHL, and man, that's just, Vegas is being big time. Your old town.
Yeah, my old town.
Is making it big.
So if Sterner can get back up, and stay up, I don't know how many years it's going to take, but the team he's playing for now is going to have some sweet digs in
for sure.
Vegas.
Okay, how about women's basketball? Big 12 schedule release, 18 conference games. And we talked about the men's. Home, they're going to have Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, Baylor, Cincinnati, Iowa State, TCU, Texas Tech, and West Virginia.
Okay.
And then away, they'll have Arizona, Central Florida, Houston, Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona State. So
I'm curious to see, you got Delaney Gibb coming back as the Rookie of the Year in the Big 12, Lee Camard, the new head coach, a lot of new faces. They've added some impressive players, and that'll be a challenge. They are digging from the ground up, trying to build up in that Big 12.
Yeah, and they're home and homes. It's regional, so they got Utah, they've got Arizona, Arizona State are all home and homes, which is great. Stay close to home, play the regional rivalries, and that's what your Mark was talking about on both sides of this, men's and women's, that they're trying to keep some of those alive.
Former Cougar Emma Calvert is signed to play professionally in the Czech Republic. She averaged 12.6 points and 5.4 rebounds last year at 6'4". She finished her BYU career ranked number 5 in program history with 138 block shots. I think the Hampsons had all the others.
Well, and Emma can play defense and go out and shoot threes, which is, she's got a nice skill set. She's a stretch 4 or 5. So.
We wish her the best in the Czech Republic, repping the Y.
That's right. Hey, and congrats to BYU's Maddie Alphen White, a videographer. She was awarded the Videographer of the Year by College Sports Communications. You see her work all over the place with BYU's creative and digital design team. You see the cut and you see all this, like she's involved in all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Amazing work and a great honor for Maddie. So congrats to Maddie.
Speaking of winning, our Wise Guy for a Day winner in our contest, Tim Felicia, he's going to be here in studio on July 21st.
I'm excited about
He's
that.
in town that week and he's coming. And he'll be sitting right over here with us.
He's going to tell us his BYU sports stories.
That'll be a lot of fun. Our Cougar Board question of the week is ready to go. If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts every day, sometimes more than that. This question comes from Airwolf. Did you ever see that movie? Was it a movie or a TV series?
I think it was a movie.
About a helicopter?
Yeah.
Yeah, Airwolf. And the guy from Jaws was in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an old one, man.
One of their insider subscribers, Airwolf. Here's the question for you. Can the new defensive ends get up to speed during our non-conference games in order to compete in conference play?
Yeah, and we have some guys that are bad. Like Logan Latui plays defensive end. He started a bunch of games last year. Like, we're more new inside. So at D-tackle, Keanu Tanavasa, he is so wildly talented and was so good and so smart in spring ball. I think he's going to just pick up right where our guys left off last year. But the defensive ends, we have Bodie Schoonover's back. Mm-hmm. He played last year a bunch. Logan Latui's back. He played a bunch last year. So we're really not that new. Akana, who is a transfer, kind of an outside linebacker rush type of an end, he's new, and he's coming back from an injury, so he may take a little bit of an adjustment period.
And Clegg, Hunter Clegg.
And Hunter Clegg, he's new, back from a mission. But I think there's enough experience there that the experienced guys can put their arms around the young guys who are wildly talented, and I think that we're going to be just fine at defensive end. I really do.
All right, there's your question for our Cougar Board question of the week. Let's roll out of here. By the way, Trent Pratt's going to join us tomorrow on BYU Sports Nation tomorrow morning, so that'll be good.
Oh, that's right.
Talk about baseball and what they plan to do to get better here in the offseason and try to build on their win against Arizona State at the Big 12 Championships, kind of give them a little glimpse into where they can go and what they can be and the needs that they need to get here in the offseason. So Trent Pratt will be with us tomorrow. I see there's a baseball question on the stream. We'll visit with Coach Pratt tomorrow and see what he's got cooking for the summer, fall, and into next spring. On this day, on June 16th, there were a lot of things that happened on this day in history.
We start in 1812. World's first book club is formed at St. Albans Tavern in London.
So, there's a lot of book clubs around.
But this is the
certainly in my neighborhood.
1812.
And it also... We can blame 1812.
I'm heading to London, and
they did it in a tavern.
And maybe I'll go see St. Albans Tavern in London when I'm there in a couple weeks.
Maybe they threw some back as part of the book club experience.
It's not a priority. Wimbledon's a bigger priority, but if I can make it to the tavern, I will.
In 1858, on this day, Abraham Lincoln says the famous phrase, "A house divided against itself cannot stand," while accepting the Republican nomination for Senate in Illinois.
Wow.
That was on this day in 1858. And, of course, later on Seinfeld, George
Said this.
says something similar.
1882, 17-inch hailstones weighing 1.7 pounds each fell in Dubuque, Iowa.
How do you survive that?
If you get hit with a 17-inch hailstone, you're going down.
Now, fortunately, there weren't windshields, right, in 1882. But, man, what a horse and buggy. What about the horses?
Yeah, the horses. You had to put animals inside. They get hurt by that.
I'm telling you, the Midwest.
1 pound hailstones?
The Midwest is wacky.
I don't like the weather there.
1896, speaking of weather, the temperature hits 127 degrees Fahrenheit at Fort Mojave, California.
Yeah, nobody wants to live there.
127.
It's hot there all the time. 1902, The Wizard of Oz musical opened in Chicago. So that's before The Wizard of Oz with,
So we've been dealing with flying monkeys since 1902.
Yeah. I don't know if they had flying monkeys in it back in that day, but I'm sure they did. I don't know if
they had to. You can add flying monkeys.
Well, but how did they do it back then? Now, if you go to Wicked on Broadway, they have them all. Like they actually fly across the audience. It's crazy. But I don't know if they could do it back then.
1903 on this day, the Ford Motor Company was founded.
Wow.
That changed the world.
Yeah. Also in 1903, Pepsi Cola Company was founded.
That changed the world.
Ford and Pepsi. Wow.
The same year.
Yeah.
That's where drinking and driving began. You could get in your Ford and drink a Pepsi. In 1960, on this day, Psycho premieres in New York. A lot of people were freaked out and scared by that movie, the black and white. Remember?
And is in Psycho where the music goes?
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And the music was freaky, but I thought it was stupid. I didn't like it. It would show up at Halloween. I'm like, it was an Alfred Hitchcock, okay, but that didn't get to me. Like Jaws.
I don't like
Jaws
Psycho.
got to me.
Yeah.
Psycho
you didn't go in the water. In fact, you still don't go in the water because of that.
Well, I'll go in the water, but I don't like it.
1975. The Bucks made a big mistake. They traded Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Lakers for 4 players.
How do you do that?
I don't even know who the 4 players were because that's how good Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was.
Yeah. How about that? All right, 1978. Do you think sports fans sometimes look back in their history and go, hey, what were we thinking back then?
Well, I think
the Red Sox, when they
Portland
traded Babe
Trailblazers, Portland Trailblazers to this day, aren't they going, we drafted Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Well, hey. Yeah. Live and learn.
Yeah.
1978, Grease premieres in American theaters. Grease was the word back then.
1995, Salt Lake City is awarded the 2002 Winter Olympics.
On this day, how about
in
that?
1995, yeah.
On this day in 2015, as was pointed out by our guest, Donald Trump launches his campaign for the Republican nomination for president by coming down the escalators.
Can you believe that was 10 years ago?
A lot's happened in 10 years.
Wow. So let's talk about some birthdays on this day. In 1829, Geronimo was born. He's the great Apache leader, of course.
1951, Roberto Duran, boxer, Hands of Stone.
Wow, that's right. Hey, by the way, why when you jump out of an airplane, do you go, Geronimo? Or what do you say?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Roberto Duran.
I don't know what I'd say if I jumped out of an airplane.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be good.
1955, Tree Rollins, NBA center who bit Danny Ainge during an in-game scuffle.
A lot of people think Ainge bit him.
Well,
Tree Rollins bit him.
So remember, there was the headline said "Tree bites man" was the headline. And it was Tree Rollins bit Danny Ainge.
By the way, you can see our Danny Ainge interview at wiseguys.com.
Yeah.
1962 on this day, Wally Joyner was born. A big baseball star at BYU and in the big leagues with the Angels. Played for the Cougars in 81 to 83. Our interview with Wally Joyner is also at wiseguys.com.
And by the way, if you want to see a man hit a golf ball and just swing so easy and just mash the ball, go watch Wally hit a golf ball.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
In 1970, Phil Mickelson, the golfer, a 3-time Masters winner, was born.
All right. On this day in 1971, Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
I was driving back from the Tyson fight to Channel 8 in Vegas, and I saw my rearview window a police incident there on the Las Vegas Strip, and that was the night that Tupac was shot and killed after that fight.
Was it Biggie Smalls, guys? Who was it?
I don't know.
Do we ever find out who that was?
No, I think.
Or was it the guy that owned Death Row Records? I can't remember.
I thought Suge Knight was Suge Knight involved in that?
Yeah.
I don't even know if we can talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all I
We
don't know.
if we can.
I don't know.
Anyway,
we don't know. We're just speculating.
Tonight was how Tupac Shakur began, and then I'm recounting the story of how it ended.
1977, Kerry Wood, the Cubs pitcher, he had 20 strikeouts against Houston, by the way. He was born on this day.
How about that? You struck out 20 professional hitters.
That's not easy.
And so a couple of them had 3 shots at you, and they still couldn't figure you out.
Well, think about it. If you struck out 20, if you pitched a perfect game, you'd have 27 batters, right?
Yeah.
He struck out 20.
20.
That's nuts.
Justin Jefferson, is he not the best receiver in football right now?
Yeah,
he was born on this day in 1999.
It's crazy that he was born in 1999. We got NFL guys born in the 2000s
Yeah. So. Well, and Chris was telling us the story about playing a clip last year from Bono of U2 in their American Heritage class, and the kids didn't know who he was.
Come on. Okay, let's talk about June 16th deaths.
1970.
Yeah, Brian Piccolo, the Bears running back that died of cancer at age 26. The movie Brian song with, that movie still makes me cry.
Yeah, if you're just sitting at home and you want to watch a sad movie.
Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, what a great story. Great story. But man, that makes me cry.
2014, Tony Gwynn, San Diego State, played with the Padres, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest hitters of all time. He also played point guard
for the
against BYU when the Cougars and Danny Ainge and Tony Gwynn back
when he was the baseball coach down at San Diego State, and I was doing basketball in the Old Mountain West. What an unbelievably great human being he was, Tony Gwynn. He's a superstar by any definition, and he never acted like he just acted like a normal human being, which I thought was amazing. I love Tony Gwynn.
Our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from Tony Gwynn when he was coaching there with the Aztecs, and I love what he said here. And I wish all coaches would hear this and feel what he was trying to get across when he said,
"Yeah, he says, I'm coaching. Swing at this. Don't swing at that." In the middle of it, a kid looks at me and says, "Coach, I think I'm going to fail history." Or maybe their girlfriend just dumped them. These are kids. And once I embraced that, this became a lot more fun. That's how he was.
Yeah.
He's like, he wasn't coaching in the major leagues. He was coaching kids.
So Little League coaches, there's a chance that 9-year-old's had a bad day.
Yeah, that's right.
The peanut butter and jelly was not. He had tuna fish instead of peanut butter and jelly, and he's all out of whack.
Exactly.
And I love that transition of, hey, once I embraced that, the whole thing became more fun. There's a life lesson in there.
Absolutely. So
thank our BYU American Heritage professors, Chris Karpowitz and Kelly Patterson. They were great, insightful, and a lot of fun from a class that we all had to take.
Yes, we did. So, hey, next week, Travis Brady, is he in the house? Is he in town?
Be with us via Las Vegas.
Oh, because he's going to be on and then BYU grad and president, or BYU grad and executive director of the Americans Freedom Festival of Provo, Jim Evans also coming on with us?
Yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be great.
There needs some volunteers, so we'll talk about how folks can get involved in America's Freedom Festival. It's about to ratchet up around here.
Yeah.
It's the best couple of weeks in the country.
Rascal Flatts coming on this year.
Rascal Flatts.
Are you emceeing this year again?
It's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun.
And they'll sell all the tickets. And Rascal Flatts had been retired, and then they came back. And we were listening to them the other day. They got plenty of songs.
Oh, they got so many good songs. We were talking about them the other day, and the kids were like, well, what song did they do again? And so we started to go through a couple, and they go, wow, they have a lot of songs. Like, they knew all the songs, right?
They won't be able to sing all their songs, but they're going to sing a lot of them.
My favorite, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite of Rascal Flatts?
They're kind of all the same to me, but I like them all.
I like God Bless the Broken Road That Led Me Straight to You. It's a great song.
There's some great ones. So that's going to be a lot of fun, the parade and everything. So Jim Evans is going to be with us next week.
Yeah.
And Travis will let us know what Brady Plus is up to, one of our title sponsors, and we're going to hit him up with a bunch of questions.
Yeah, for sure. Where can you find us this week? Well, tomorrow morning you can find Dave and I together because we're co-hosting Sports Nation, 10 o'clock Mountain on BYU TV, BYU Radio. So we're there together tomorrow. That's the next place you can see us. And then, of course, we'll be back here next Monday night. That'll be fun. It'll be fun to do the show tomorrow over there. And then we'll be back over here. There's some differences between here and there. Yeah. Over here, we have the freedoms to talk about Ryder Lyons. Right. And when we're at BYU TV, it's a different outfit. It's under the BYU umbrella. And so then until he's signed, we won't. Yeah, the other thing is that's just how we do that. I can't do
and
this.
you'll have to wear some shoes.
I can't do this over there. I can't not wear shoes.
There's a decency policy over there, so there's going to have to be some shoes. If I see those feet tomorrow,
they make me wear pants at BYU. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing.
So let's find out if Blaine's wearing pants tomorrow morning at 10
I will
o'clock.
have pants and shoes on tomorrow, I promise. But not next Monday night, I won't.
So I wore a T-shirt on the show today, and it was I was giving the volleyball team some love because Sean Olmstead brought us all these shirts. Remember when he's here? But the fabric was light, and so my mic kept dragging the thing down, and so I got to wear a better shirt tomorrow. But we'll find another.
We'll figure out how to match up tomorrow. But I have tremendous respect for Jim Evans and Travis Brady, but I will not wear shoes next week. That's so everybody knows.
I don't think they'll be surprised to see that either. Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus Supplies Plus Support.
And by Eddie, HR and payroll software built for small businesses. See how Eddie can serve your team at Eddie.com.
And by Mountain America Credit Union, apply for your BYU credit card featuring a $100 bonus at any Mountain America branch or MACU.com/BYU Visa. You need a credit card anyway, and you can get a free $100.
And a BYU one to boot.
And a BYU one to boot.
So go do it.
And support Wise Guys because Mountain America supports Wise Guys.
That's right. And Wise Guys is distributed by the Deseret News.
Okay. It's been a great show.
Yep. We'll see y'all next week.
See ya.
We'll see you tomorrow morning, and then we'll see you back here next week. So
peace out.